A new Consumer Reports investigation released this morning reveals that many canned tuna products on American shelves contain far more mercury than consumers realize. Think that can of tuna sitting in your pantry is a safe and budget-friendly choice? Think again. Some cans release a foul odor the moment you crack them open, like stagnant sewer water. Think you are eating real fish? In reality, you are mostly getting fillers and additives, mushy flakes that fall apart like wet paper, and a slimy film clinging to the inside of the lid. For seniors, the risks go far beyond bad taste, blood pressure spikes, kidney strain, even paralysis. And the industry itself is riddled with fraud, price fixing, and deadly botulism recalls. Today, we are exposing 5 canned tuna brands you need to stop buying, ranked from bad to worst. And we will finish with 2 brands that actually deserve a spot in your kitchen, ranked from good to best. Stay until the end, because what has been sitting in your pantry may not be as harmless as you think. Number 1. Genova. The fancy label screams Mediterranean quality. The inside tells a different story. At first glance, the packaging looks premium. The words packed in olive oil are prominently displayed. The label carries an old-world aesthetic that suggests craftsmanship and care. But once the lid peels back, that impression collapses immediately. What greets you is not golden olive oil. It is a greasy slick that floats like engine runoff on a garage floor. The fish strands fall apart into soggy ribbons. Bite into it and instead of rich tuna flavor, you get a chemical aftertaste that clings to your tongue. Here's the real betrayal. Genova markets itself as gourmet tuna. The branding suggests it is a step above the cheaper cans. But independent testers and consumer complaints consistently point to the opposite. The cuts are not quality fillets. They are trimmings, the inexpensive material left over from mass processing operations. A single can of Genova tuna in olive oil can contain more than 350 milligrams of sodium per 2 ounces serving. Nearly 20% of the recommended daily intake in just a couple of forkfuls. For seniors managing blood pressure, kidney disease, or heart conditions, that is a serious problem. A sandwich could easily push someone past their safe daily limit without them realizing it. And the olive oil is not always the extra virgin quality implied by the branding. Consumer Reports have flagged that the oil is often bland, refined, and sometimes blended with cheaper vegetable oils. You are not getting an Italian delicacy, you are getting bulk filler swimming in grease. And that grease coats every bite with a clammy texture that makes the fish feel old before you have even tasted it. If you want genuine olive oil tuna, look for European certified brands that meet stricter fishing and oil quality standards. Products carrying the MSC certification or marked as Poland line caught actually deliver on that promise. Yes, they cost a little more, but at least you know you are not eating oily mush dressed up as gourmet. Number 2. Chicken of the Sea. Chicken of the Sea looks friendly enough, but what is inside that can is not working in your favor. The smiling mermaid logo and the claim of seafood integrity make it feel wholesome, as if it came straight from crystal blue waters. But the truth hiding inside those cans represents some of the worst shortcuts in the entire tuna industry. Instead of solid chunks of tuna, many cans are padded with scraps of other fish, bits of white fish blended just enough to pass. Consumers believed they were purchasing real tuna and often received a mix of leftovers that barely resembled what was shown on the label. And then there is the smell. Shoppers report that cracking open a can sometimes releases an odor closer to cat food than actual fish. The meat inside is soft and waterlogged, with a consistency so loose it turns into paste. Some even described a greasy film on top. Chicken of the Sea has been forced to recall products after metal fragments were discovered inside cans. These were not tiny traces. Reports described small steel shards from defective lids that worked their way into the contents. Imagine biting down on a piece of steel. Health risks go beyond unpleasant surprises. Sodium content is dangerously high. A single serving delivers around 360 milligrams of sodium. Seniors on blood pressure or kidney medications can reach half their safe daily sodium intake just from one single can of tuna. And mercury is a separate concern. Independent testing has flagged some products for levels approaching the FDA's own danger threshold. Mercury accumulates over time, contributing to tremors and neurological damage. For older adults, that is a risk too serious to ignore. The fix: choose line-caught brands like Wild Planet and Safe Catch that openly publish their fishing methods and mercury testing results. Number 3. Starkist. Starkist may sound like a staple of American households, but that star has been burning out for years. For decades, this brand carried a trusted image, budget-friendly cans and a cartoon fish mascot that told families they could rely on the taste. But behind the label lies a history of betrayal. Starkist was convicted by the U.S. Department of Justice for price fixing. The penalty, $100 million. A deliberate scheme to overcharge families while product quality took a nosedive. Customers cracked open cans expecting firm flakes, only to be greeted with mush that collapsed like wet tissue. Some described the smell as sharp and sour. Others reported a gritty texture, as if the tuna had been dragged across a factory floor. Many reach for canned tuna believing it is heart-healthy. But Starkist can push blood pressure to dangerous levels due to high sodium. The World Health Organization classified processed meats as a Group 1 carcinogen, the same danger category as tobacco and asbestos. With the way Starkist overprocesses its product using fillers and chemical brines, what you are opening is not real fish. Consumer forums are filled with complaints about cans with slimy surfaces or liquid inside that looks like murky dishwater. Starkist did not simply stumble. They schemed, profited, and let standards slide while the public trusted their name. That is the system. Number 3. Starkist. Starkist may sound like a staple of American households, but that star has been burning out for years. For decades, this brand carried a trusted image, budget-friendly cans, convenient meals, and a cartoon fish mascot. It told families they could rely on the taste, but behind the label lies a history of betrayal that most shoppers never hear about. Here is the first gut punch. Starkist was convicted by the U.S. Department of Justice for price fixing, not a bookkeeping error, not an honest mistake. A deliberate scheme to inflate prices across the entire country. The penalty, $100 million. That is not pocket change. That is compensation for years of overcharging families who believed they were buying affordable protein. While executives profited, product quality took a nosedive. Customers cracked open cans expecting firm flakes of tuna, only to be greeted with mush that collapsed like wet tissue. Some described the smell as a fish tank left baking in the sun. Sharp, sour, and impossible to ignore. Others reported biting down on a gritty texture, as if the tuna had been dragged across a factory floor. The betrayal hits especially hard for seniors. Many reach for canned tuna believing it is heart-healthy and convenient. But what you often get from Starkist can push blood pressure to dangerous levels. A single serving can contain up to 360 milligrams of sodium, nearly 1/5 of the recommended daily limit. And that is before adding mayonnaise or bread. For someone on heart medication, that is not lunch. That is a hidden trap. And here is something almost nobody talks about. The World Health Organization has classified processed meats as a Group 1 carcinogen, placing them in the same danger category as tobacco and asbestos. Tuna should never belong on that list. Yet, with the way Starkist overprocesses its product using fillers, chemical brines, and questionable quality controls, what you are opening is not real fish. It is a science experiment sealed in a tin. Consumer forums are filled with complaints about cans arriving with slimy surfaces, lids that bulge slightly outward, or liquid inside that looks murky, like dishwater after scrubbing greasy pans. These are not isolated grumbles, they are warning signs. The FDA itself has issued alerts about improper storage and contamination risks tied to canned seafood. In Europe, stricter labeling requirements and lower sodium standards are the norm. Meanwhile, American consumers get the short end of the net. Starkist did not simply stumble, they schemed, profited, and let standards slide, while the public trusted their name. That is not an accident. That is the system working exactly as intended. Number 4. Bumblebee. For decades, Bumblebee was a pantry staple. Parents tossed it into school lunches. Seniors counted on it as an affordable source of protein. But the brand you trusted growing up is not the same one sitting on shelves today. Instead of firm chunks, many customers now open Bumblebee cans to find a watery mess. A thin film floats on the surface. The tuna breaks apart into mush, the kind of consistency you would expect from canned pet food, not something marketed as human-grade seafood. The smell is sour, almost metallic, closer to damp cardboard than anything from the ocean. But here is what they will not print on the label. In 2016, Bumblebee had to recall more than 31,000 cases of tuna after contamination risks were identified. That is not a typo. 31,000 cases pulled from shelves. The FDA confirmed that processing errors had left some cans unsafe to consume, and the problems did not stop there. Over the years, shoppers noticed that Bumblebee quietly altered its formula. Reports from industry insiders suggest that only around 70% of the contents are actual fish, the remaining portion being additives and binding agents used to stretch profit margins. You are paying for protein, but nearly a third of it is not real protein at all. Bumblebee filed for bankruptcy in 2019. To stay operational, the company was sold to a foreign conglomerate that also manages a network of low-cost processed food labels worldwide. When ownership shifts to a large holding group focused on squeezing margins, quality is rarely the priority. For seniors, the situation is especially troubling. Sodium levels regularly exceed 300 milligrams per serving, a serious concern for anyone managing blood pressure or kidney conditions. Combined with mercury exposure, which consumer watchdog groups argue is insufficiently regulated in the US compared to European standards, this once trusted brand has quietly become more of a health liability than a healthy meal. Skip the corporate cans. Reach for sustainably verified tuna like Safe Catch or Wild Planet. They cost more, but at least you know exactly what you are eating. Number 5. Van Camp's Genova and Trader Joe's Botulism. Recall, the packaging looks clean. Words like Mediterranean style or yellowfin and olive oil sound classy, even healthy. On the shelf, these cans look perfectly normal. But sometimes the most dangerous can of tuna looks completely normal. The FDA confirmed it. Cans from Genova, Van Camp's, and even Trader Joe's were recalled due to a botulism risk. This is not just a bad product. This is a life-threatening bacterium sealed inside a can, waiting to be opened. And here is the worst part. You would not know. No sour odor, no unusual texture, no visible signs of contamination when you break the seal. The can looks fine. The tuna looks fine. You could fork it onto a sandwich with a smile, never realizing what you had just served yourself. Botulism is not ordinary food poisoning. It does not simply cause cramps or an upset stomach. It causes paralysis, beginning in the muscles, then spreading to the lungs. It can literally stop your breathing. For seniors or anyone on heart and kidney medications, the risk is not just elevated, it can be fatal. What caused it? Defective easy open lids. Minor design flaws allowed air to enter the cans, creating the ideal environment for Clostridium botulinum to grow. The FDA recall notices listed the specific lot codes, but how many shoppers check lot codes while loading their carts? Reports suggest these brands were aware of packaging flaws that increased the risk, and instead of acting immediately, they kept those products on shelves. Recalls and redesigns are expensive. Profits are not. 1 batch from Van Camp's alone affected thousands of cans. And Trader Joe's, a store many consider a reliable source of clean, trustworthy food, was caught in the same recall net. If even they cannot guarantee basic safety, who can? Always check the FDA recall list before purchasing. It takes seconds online. If a can appears bulged, dented, or otherwise off, do not risk it. Discard it immediately. Your life is worth more than a $2 can. Brands you can trust ranked 1 to 2. The higher the number, the better the brand. Number 1. Crown Prince. After recalls, fillers, and products that pose real health risks, Crown Prince offers something rare: relief. Crown Prince offers a no-salt added solid white albacore that does not rely on cheap brine or misleading labels. Certified sustainable, clearly labeled, and free from hidden extras, this brand proves that not every canned tuna product is a gamble. Open a can from the avoid list and you will likely find watery mush, cloudy liquid, and an off-putting smell. Open Crown Prince solid white albacore and you are greeted with thick, firm chunks, pale, clean flesh that holds together on a fork. The aroma is closer to fresh ocean air than the chemical cloud that rises from cheaper brands. The health angle matters most here. Many seniors are advised to reduce sodium intake to protect their hearts and kidneys. Yet most canned tuna delivers 300 to 400 milligrams of sodium per serving, nearly 20% of the daily limit in just 2 ounces. 3 bites in and blood pressure is already taking a hit. Crown Prince eliminates added salt entirely. Zero added sodium. That is why dietitians and FDA guidance both point to no salt-added foods as safer choices for older adults and heart patients. Crown Prince is also among the few brands that provides genuinely transparent sourcing. They do not hide behind vague claims. They have maintained certifications from organizations like the Marine Stewardship Council, ensuring fish is caught using sustainable methods. Their standards meet many of the stricter European requirements, a rare distinction for an American label. When other cans collapse into paste, Crown Prince still delivers real, solid fish. When other brands manage recalls quietly, Crown Prince shows traceability. Real quality does not need a disguise. One shopper put it plainly, "Finally, tuna I can feed my parents without worrying about their blood pressure." Swapping one meal a week with Crown Prince is one of the simplest ways to cut hundreds of milligrams of salt. Choose a brand you can trust. Choose Crown Prince for real quality and better health. Number 2. Safe Catch. After 5 brands that failed consumers in serious ways, Safe Catch stands apart as the gold standard in canned tuna. Most tuna brands test a handful of samples from each batch. Safe Catch tests every single fish for mercury, not a batch, not a random selection. Every individual fish. If a tuna does not pass their threshold, it never makes it into a can. The numbers are published and transparent, and they back up the claim. That level of commitment is not cheap and it is not fast. But it is the only reliable way to guarantee mercury levels remain low enough to be safe for seniors, pregnant women, and anyone managing cardiovascular concerns. Open a standard can from any of the brands on the avoid list and you will likely find watery mush and pale flakes that collapse, and sometimes a sharp chemical odor or a greasy film floating on top. Open a can of Safe Catch and the difference is immediate. Firm flakes that hold their shape, a clean, natural aroma. No chemical haze rising from the can when you break the seal. It looks like tuna, it smells like tuna, because it is tuna. Safe Catch does not add cheap brine or low-quality filler oils. What you get is 100% fish, slow-cooked at lower temperatures, to preserve the protein and nutritional value. Other brands rush through high-pressure cooking that blasts the meat until it falls apart. Safe Catch takes the longer route, because food made for people should not be treated like a factory byproduct. The health data supports everything. Mercury limits are stricter than what the FDA requires, and stricter than many European standards. Safe Catch tuna averages below 0.1 parts per million of mercury. That is a fraction of what independent tests have found in larger commercial brands. And unlike competitors that hide behind vague labels, Safe Catch publishes batch codes, fishing regions, and third-party certifications. You can trace your can back to its origin. That is not marketing spin, that is accountability. Safe Catch shows that honesty and transparency are still possible in an industry that has proven, again and again, that profit usually wins. If you only make one change to your pantry after watching this video, make it this one, so now you know which cans belong in the trash and which ones deserve a spot in your kitchen. What is the worst canned tuna experience you have ever had? Drop it in the comments, do not hold back. And if you want to know which frozen meals are basically chemical labs in a box, click the video on the left. Subscribe for the truth.